Imagine this. You apply for a remote job that pays $60,000 a year. You pass the test. The interview goes well. Then you get the email. We went with another candidate. What they don't tell you is they found someone in another country who agreed to do 80% of the job for half the salary, and the other 20% they'll just throw into AI tools. At the same time, reports are warning that hundreds of millions of jobs worldwide could be reshaped or partially automated by AI in the next decade. Remote work, global platforms, and AI tools are basically turning the whole planet into one giant job market. So suddenly the question is, are you still competing with people in your city or with everyone on Earth who has a laptop and decent Wi-Fi? Will AI be your assistant or your replacement? And in this new global wage war, will your salary go up, down, or just get stuck while prices keep rising? In this video, we're going to break down how AI and remote work are quietly rewriting the rules of the job market, why this tends to push wages down for many people and up for a small elite, what this means for your job, your salary, and your chances of having a decent life. And finally, what realistic options exist for workers and for governments in this new global wage war. Let's start simple. For most of modern history, your job market was basically your city. You competed with people who lived near you, spoke your language, could physically show up to the same office or factory. If a company in London or New York wanted a designer or accountant, they hired in London or New York, not because they loved you, but because hiring someone in another country was hard. Legal headaches, time zones, bad internet, no easy way to manage payments, contracts, and communication. So there were frictions. Those frictions protected your salary almost like a soft, invisible shield. Now think of that like a small town dating pool. You only compete with a few hundred people in your town. Maybe you're not perfect, but you're good enough for that pool. Then three things smash that shield: high-speed internet and global platforms, the normalization of remote work, especially after the pandemic, AI tools that automate a chunk of knowledge work. Suddenly, for a lot of jobs, companies ask a different question. Why are we paying $60,000 for this when it could be done for $20,000 plus some AI tools? The labor market is turning from local ponds into one big global ocean. Before, you competed with 100 people in your city. Now you might be competing with 10,000 people worldwide, plus AI. And in economics, when the number of people willing to do a job explodes and the job itself gets partially automated, that usually means downward pressure on wages for most and huge gains for a small group who control the platforms, the capital, and the technology. Here's a big misunderstanding. AI doesn't usually replace jobs. It replaces tasks inside jobs. Take a typical office worker. Maybe you. Answer emails, prepare reports, analyze data, make presentations, talk to clients. AI tools can already draft emails, summarize reports, generate charts, write code snippets, create slide decks. So a company can now say, one person with AI can do what two people used to do. Do they cut the workload in half and let you work less for the same pay? Of course not. Most of the time, they keep the workload, cut the headcount, and save the money. So what happens? The company's productivity goes up. The owners and top executives capture most of the gains. Workers either lose jobs or keep the job, but with more pressure and less bargaining power. Now add global remote work on top. If a worker in country A plus AI can do the job almost as well as a worker in country B without AI, the company compares total cost, salary, benefits, taxes, office costs, and guess what? They don't really care about your rent, your grocery bill, or how expensive your city has become. They care about cost per unit of output. AI plus remote work turns many jobs into something closer to a global commodity, like coffee or iron ore. Once something becomes a commodity, the price tends to be pushed down unless you can prove you're doing something very special that others can't. This might sound new and terrifying, but we've seen similar patterns before with manufacturing and call centers. In the late 20th century, a lot of manufacturing jobs moved from rich countries like the US, UK, and Germany to lower-cost countries like China, Mexico, Vietnam, and others. Why? Workers were much cheaper. Trade barriers fell. Global supply chains got easier to manage. Result, consumers in rich countries got cheaper TVS, clothes, and gadgets. Shareholders and corporations made big profits. Many factory workers in rich countries lost secure, middle-class jobs. The global wage war for factory work basically flattened wages downward in rich countries and raised them upward in poorer countries, but not evenly and not fairly. Then something similar happened with services. Call centers and customer support moved to India, the Philippines, and other countries. Software development, graphic design, and back-office tasks became globalized. Platforms made it easy to hire someone halfway across the world in a few clicks. Now we're seeing the next wave. Not just customer support, but coding, design, marketing, writing, basic legal work, accounting, translation. And this time there's a twist. AI is in the mix. A company can hire a human in a lower wage country, give them powerful AI tools, achieve a quality level similar to a higher paid worker in a rich country. So the offshoring is no longer just about moving factories. It's about moving white-collar work, or at least the more routine parts of it. Let's make this very concrete. If you live in a richer country, US, Western Europe, Japan, Australia, etc., you're facing three big pressures. More global competition for your job. Employers can hire remote workers elsewhere or turn some of your tasks over to AI. That weakens your negotiating power on salary. Stagnant wages versus rising costs. If your wages are held down by global competition, but your rent, healthcare, and education are priced in a rich country economy, you get squeezed. More precarious work. Permanent, stable roles can be replaced by short-term contracts, freelance gigs, project-based work. This gives companies flexibility and risk-free headcount, while you take on the risk of unstable income. On the plus side, you can also sell your skills globally, not just in your country. If you're very good at what you do, you might join the group whose income goes up, not down. You can use AI to become much more productive, maybe doing the work of a small team. But this requires constant upskilling, strong personal branding or networks, the emotional energy to live in an always-on competition. If you live in an emerging economy, India, Brazil, Nigeria, Philippines, Eastern Europe, etc., your position is more mixed. Upside, more access to global clients. You're no longer limited to local wages. You can work for companies in the US or Europe and earn more than local averages, even if you're cheaper than workers there. Leapfrogging via AI tools. With a laptop and AI, you can deliver very high-quality work, closing the gap with more experienced workers in rich countries. Growing digital middle class. For some, this creates new middle-class careers without having to emigrate. Downside, race to the bottom. If everyone in multiple emerging economies competes on price, platforms turn work into a bidding war. Clients sort by lowest cost and apply AI on top. You're stuck working long hours for modest pay. Weak protections, social safety nets, unemployment insurance, and labor protections may be weaker. So if a client disappears or a project ends, you're on your own. Inequality inside your country. A small group who speaks good English, has good internet, and knows how to use AI can earn relatively well, but millions still get left behind in informal or low-pay jobs. In both rich and emerging countries, the theme is the same. The gains from AI and global work do exist, but they're not automatically shared fairly. Let's identify the main players. Tech platforms and AI companies. They provide the marketplaces and tools. They take a cut of every transaction. They own the data and the infrastructure. They can scale globally with very few employees. They capture a huge share of the profits. Capital owners and big corporations. They can arbitrage labor across countries. They can use AI to replace or augment staff. They gain more flexibility to move work wherever it's cheapest. Their profit margins grow unless competition forces them to pass savings to consumers. Top-tier global talent. People with rare skills, strong networks, or star status. They can use AI as a force multiplier. They can negotiate from strength in a global market. Their income can soar. The average worker, competing with more people and with AI, often lacking bargaining power, unions, or strong protections, faces wage stagnation, job insecurity, and stress. If nothing is done, the default setting of the system is more inequality, more insecurity, more pressure to constantly hustle. There are no magic bullets, but there are real options for individuals and for societies. From your personal perspective, the game is don't compete with AI at what AI is good at. Don't compete only on being cheap. Instead, you want to own a niche, combine skills, e.g. data plus storytelling, coding plus product sense, design plus business. Focus on an industry where domain knowledge matters. Lean into human strengths, relationship building, negotiation, creativity and taste, strategic thinking. Use AI as an amplifier. Let AI handle the repetitive stuff. You handle the judgment calls and the big picture. Who wins here? People who adapt quickly and invest in their skills. People who can position themselves as problem solvers, not just task doers. Who loses? People stuck in routine tasks that AI can easily replicate. People who don't have time, money, or support to reskill. Governments do have levers, but each comes with trade-offs. Some possibilities: stronger safety nets, better unemployment benefits, public health care, housing support. These reduce the fear of technological change, but cost money and require political will. Massive retraining and education. Public programs to help workers learn new skills. Support for mid-career transitions. But these programs are hard to implement well, and not everyone can become a tech worker. Support for worker bargaining power. Unions or new forms of collective bargaining for platform workers. Rules for fair pay and transparency. Winners, workers who get real support and protections. Societies that manage change without massive social unrest. Losers/opponents, businesses that benefit from very cheap, flexible labor. Tax-averse groups who don't want to fund stronger safety nets. Another path is to regulate the platforms themselves. Minimum standards for pay and working conditions on global freelance platforms. Transparency about how algorithms rank workers, maybe even global agreements on digital labor rights. This is complicated and politically messy. Countries compete to attract tech companies. Platforms can move operations to more lenient jurisdictions. Workers in poorer countries may fear that too much regulation will price them out. Still, some basic standards could prevent the worst race-to-the-bottom scenarios. Some economists argue that if AI and automation greatly increase profits, a larger share of those profits should be taxed. The revenue should fund retraining, stronger social protections, maybe even partial forms of universal basic income. Winners, workers and citizens who get smoother transitions, people who would otherwise be left behind. Losers/opponents, wealthy shareholders and corporations. Countries afraid that higher taxes will push businesses away. There's no free lunch. Each option is a political choice about who pays for the transition. If you're watching this, you're probably not in charge of national policy. So let's end with your level of control. 3 practical moves. Audit your job for AI vulnerable tasks. List what you do daily. Ask, which parts could AI already do at 70 to 80% quality? Those tasks are where your bargaining power is weakest. Shift your energy toward AI-resistant or AI-leveraged work. AI-resistant, human relationship work, complex negotiation, leadership. AI-leveraged, jobs where using AI makes you uniquely productive. Think globally, but realistically. Can you sell your skills to clients in other countries? Can you work remotely for higher wages than your local market? Or if you're in a rich country, do you need to move toward roles that are harder to offshore? Remember, you didn't design this system. You're living inside it. But understanding how AI, remote work, and global capital interact turns vague anxiety into something more concrete. Specific risks you can reduce, specific opportunities you can chase, specific policies you can argue for. The global wage war isn't about some evil CEO pressing a red button. It's about a system where technology, globalization, and incentives all push in the same direction. More efficiency, more profit, more inequality and insecurity unless we push back. If you've ever felt like you're working harder but standing still, you're not crazy. You're just living in an economy where the rules of the game change, and nobody bothered to explain them to you. If you want to go deeper into how these forces translate into your rent, interest rates, and housing market, we can do a whole video on how central banks and global investors help decide how much you pay just to have a roof over your head.